Hey guys, it's Gavin, Seim here. I know it's getting kind of late, but I just wanted to go live with you guys for a couple minutes, kind of give you an update. Still haven't got my phone back, so I'm finding whatever I have around, borrowing from my wife, things like that. And I do appreciate your calls to the police department in Ephrata, telling them to give my phone back. Ephrata, Washington, that is, not Ephrata, Pennsylvania. Don't call the wrong department. I appreciate your calls to the prosecutor's office, telling them to do the right thing on these fake charges. And I appreciate the support. But I wanted to talk about something a little bit different tonight, because I'm always talking about how bad the police are and the government, and how corrupt we've become. Hey guys, and I've been thinking, this has actually been on my mind for a long time before this incident, and I allude to it, but I've been thinking about this actual topic and how we need to raise this issue and we need to think about this issue. And that's that cops are people too. And I think people really don't believe me. I think people really do not grasp and believe me when I say that I do not hate police. I don't think they understand, because I think our human nature is so filled with a general hate for those that hurt us and for our fellow man. And this past week, when I was arrested by Officer Kennedy is a bully. He's a petulant thief in this community. And the things I said about him are true. And the reason I speak boldly to him is because we do need to speak out. We need to shame this corruption. It's important that we use our voice, which is a sword. That's where the revolution comes from, is in our hearts and our voice, speaking out against the evil. But I've seen a lot of support since this illegal arrest and this illegal seizure of my phone to try and suppress the evidence. But what I'm saying is that our hearts need to be right. We don't need to be soft and gentle on the cops, right? Even look at Jesus. Maybe you're a believer like me, right? You look at Jesus. Jesus told it like it was. He said, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites." He was always calling out the corrupt hypocrites, okay? The difference is our hearts. And this is where I want us to remember. Cops are human beings too. We want them to be convicted. We want them to be changed. I don't want to make police suffer the way they've made us suffer. I'm not out for vengeance. I'm out for justice, compassion, honor, dignity. I want us to be free again. And I want the police officers, the judges, the politicians, I want them to get the due process that they denied us. See, I don't know where this case will go, and I'll put it in God's hands, because there's no way I can get a fair trial in this county. This town is mostly government employees, all right? And so I catch a lot of flack. But our words, if there was 10 people in my town doing the same thing, it would be an entirely different message. So we call them out, but we do not be like them. I know that some people have been finding Patrick Kennedy's page on Facebook, his personal page, and they've been leaving comments for him. And there's nothing wrong with leaving a comment. There's nothing wrong with going to someone, especially who's a public official, and telling them that what they're doing is wrong, telling them to stop committing crimes, and letting them know that their deeds are shameful, okay? That they're doing wrong. It's okay. You can do that in love. But I do see some comments, and I know there's people out there and they're wanting to support me, and I'm not going to tell any of you guys how you have to speak. I'm just saying from my heart what I think we need to remember. If we act in anger, and this is something I deal with a lot in activism, okay? If I act in ego or in anger, it doesn't work. It doesn't work out the way I want it to. The message is lost. And I think this is something that Ammon understands. It's something that Ryan Bundy understands. It's something Schaefer Cox understands. It's something that many of our Native American friends and people from all walks that are standing up. We need disobedience to tyrants, and we need to love them enough to speak the truth without hate. Okay, so I see comments and people are leaving, veiled threats and saying vulgar things. We don't win. It doesn't empower our voice. I'm not saying I'm gonna force you to speak one way or the other. I'm saying you weaken your voice. Vile talk and calling people names and threats, that's what the government does to us, guys. That's what the police do to us. They're vulgar and they're base and they're corrupt for money and for power and for ego. Okay? That's what we see in how these officers abuse us and then charge us for the things they did to us, like is happening here in this town and to the Bundys and to people all across America. Please, if you hear me on something, understand that how this ends goes back to how our hearts are. If we're just out for vengeance, if we're angry because we were hurt or abused, if we're hateful and vengeful, we lose. Now, they might lose too, but we'll also lose. It's called a French Revolution, is one of the more recent times that happened on a large scale, okay? Our hearts matter. And so love the police officers. And I'm not in any way saying don't call them out, don't speak out, because that will be rude. I'm not talking about our societies and our fake churches' ideals, fake ideals of what's polite and what's rude and what's name-calling. I'm talking about real honor. I'm talking about understanding that you're dealing with human beings who have chosen to do wrong for profit, and then have convinced themselves, and other people in society, consider that handicap, have also convinced them that their evil deeds are righteous. It's our job, it's our duty to call them out and to tell them to their face and online and on the street and in the grocery store, to tell them what you do is not okay as a member of the Blue Line. Your terrorism, your theft, your abuse of others is not okay. But to do that, that's why I think it's important to defend other people more than yourself. Because when you defend other people, you separate yourself to a large extent from your own anger, right? From my hurt pride, from your fact that you're frustrated, that it costs you money, right? So when I feel hate and anger and bitterness and a desire for vengeance, I have to push that down. Because if that overcomes my love for my fellow man, including the cops and including their victims all across America, my voice is weakened. When we speak in anger, vindictiveness, pettiness, and vulgarities, we may have the right to speak that way. But remember that we'll account for every idle word, and that I can tell you from experience, our voices gain power when we remain calm and principled and take the high road. That's why they often freak out. That's why the bullies attack us when we're peaceful. And we call them bullies, we call them what they are, and then they attack and they prove what we just asserted with no violence and no unprincipled behavior. So be bold, take charge, speak out, call out those blue liners, call out people for supporting that. And for supporting that criminal syndicate. But do it in love, with confidence and courage. Love your neighbor, humble yourself, submit to God. Maybe you don't believe in God, but at least love your neighbor and speak out that way. And I implore you all, do not be like them. Don't do unto them as they have done unto you. Do better than that. Because freedom and liberty and justice is better than the blue line. You guys have a good night.